With great power comes great responsibility. Today, we are investigating characters with the greatest power in their respective stories and how this iconic quote applies to them. Yes, even Saitama. Now, with the strongest trope, I have identified two main factors that always appear for someone who is the strongest in their story. Everything else I could think of would fall under one of these two categories in one way or another. And these two factors are, the first is that their existence is symbolic because they are the strongest. So they are like the pinnacle. You remove them and something is basically missing somewhere in terms of how the story will work, how the society is built. And then the second factor is that they usually have an exploitable weakness, whether it's obvious or not. There's a weakness, and this weakness is where you will get stakes from. Like, you won't have a story without stakes, so they will have an exploitable weakness. You saw the thumbnail, you know who we are studying. The 5 contenders for this trope that I'm going to break down based on these two factors are, in the order that I will break them down: Superman, All Might, Homelander, Gojo, and Saitama. What I'm gonna do is start with the first factor, go through the 5 characters, then I'll go to the second factor and go through the 5 characters. Let's go. Like and subscribe. Now, the symbolic existence factor is first, and our first contender is Superman, who is arguably the inventor of the strongest trope, or at least the pioneer. Every time you think of the strongest, I mean, there's a whole trope named after Superman, and all of these guys happen to be the strongest. Coincidence? I think not. Symbolic existence, we all know what it means to be Superman. He is a symbol of hope. It's been explicitly said. He is also the main representative of the fact that absolute power does not corrupt absolutely. He may be fictional, but it is not a bad thing for us humans to have this ideal, to have something to strive for. I mean, he may be an alien, but he was raised by humans on a farm. So if we want to not be corrupted by absolute power, we need to grow up on farms. The hell am I talking about? Now, let's take a look at All Might's symbolic existence. He is the symbol of peace. It's been said explicitly as well. And just like Superman, actually, his presence lets everyone know that everything is going to be okay. But in the society where being a hero even requires a degree at this point, these people have to go to school. All Might also, as much as Superman inspires us to follow ideals, All Might inspires other heroes in his story, on a literal sense, since he teaches in that school. But he is something to strive for. People should be like him and fight against evil, and then there's the people who fight against him, and those are the evil people. I should also add that this symbolic existence kind of means something to villains as well. For Superman and All Might, they are both a sign that, hey bruh, it's over for me, I'm done, this bank is not getting robbed. And if somebody actually challenges them, this symbolic existence, it counts for both of them. If somebody actually manages to take them down, everyone around them knows it's over, it's done. There's no hope, because that's what it means to be the symbol of hope. That's what it means to be the symbol of peace. Our peace is now gone. We are at war now. If All Might or Superman can't hack it, who can? This might count for everyone actually in the strongest trope. It's a symbolic existence. That's why I said, no matter what you think of, if you think of how the people feel when they are there, how safe they feel, goes to the same thing. There's a symbolic existence that they have. And now we get to Homelander. You know why he's here. He is literally a contrast to the two I just mentioned before. Let's ignore the fact that society views him as a hero when he's not. Let's actually talk about him being a villain and what it means for him as a symbol. He is a symbol that, without a strength of character, someone with power will actually terrorize everyone. He was grown in a lab instead of a farm. I'm telling you guys, I'm onto something with this farm thing. He is a symbol of fear. Look at how he affects every hero who is around him. They fear this guy. As much as he is weak in terms of character, so easily shaken. You saw how much of a coward he was when Soldier Boy was on the loose. But everyone fears him because of his power. He has great power and he doesn't take the responsibility that comes with it. And when the boys are out to get him, when they are doing their plans to take out heroes, what does his presence mean? Same thing as what Superman and All Might's presence means to villains. Hey, it's over now. We are in deep trouble. We are in the absolute pits. So even if the strongest is a villain, they still have a symbolic existence. And now we have arrived at Satoru Gojo. Now he is also kind of an antithesis to Superman and All Might, because yes, he has great power and great responsibility. He takes it too, but he doesn't play into that character of hope and all of that. He does his job and Of course, he will inspire his friends, but he's kind of like a rebel in a sense. You could see how he treat the elders. Hey, you guys, you can't do anything if I do this. I'm doing this because I want to. This is not a responsibility that he has based on others. This is a responsibility he took upon himself. And everyone is jealous of his power, and they can't do anything about it. And he knows it. You know, Superman, he usually comes up with self-doubt. There's this line of comics where his powers are held back because of his own mind. All Might doesn't have that self-doubt, but he's not cocky about it. You know, he knows he's the strongest, and he takes that seriously. I can't go down because all the heroes behind me will lose hope. And then you get Gojo. You can't do anything to me. And it's just the way things are. I alone am the one blessed among the heavens and the earth. That's what's symbolic about his existence. It's the fact that he knows. And that's what makes him different from Superman and All Might. He is cocky and you can't do anything about it. I'd say he would be my favorite when it comes to this trope. I don't like this false humility. Nah, bruh. Nah. I'm the best. I'll beat the rest. Do whatever you want. Can't do nothing. I'm just gonna do what I have to do because I want to do it. You see, with great power comes great responsibility, but also there's a whole lot of freedom that comes with having that much power. Nothing can actually stop you. Just look at Homelander. No one can stop him and he knows it. So he chooses to do evil. And Gojo, no one can stop him and he knows it. And he still chooses to do good. That's how he's different. Superman, let's talk about the Superman who doesn't know that no one can stop him. Okay, he gets challenged a lot as well. I mean, there's Zod and all that. And All Might, he knows his time is limited. Homelander, he is someone who knows he can't be stopped. And Gojo is also someone who knows he can't be stopped. So clearly the thing that makes Homelander evil is not that he knows he can't be stopped. It's because he didn't grow up on a farm. It's something else, and the proof is that Gojo knows that he can't be stopped and he still chooses to do good. And then you get Saitama. He is just with great power. That's it. That's it. That's it for Saitama. Everything I said about Gojo applies to Saitama. Okay, not really. He doesn't do good because he wants to. He does it because he's bored. Ah man, I love Saitama. But the point is, he is also someone who knows he can't be stopped. In fact, he lives to find someone who can stop him. And just like Superman and All Might and Gojo as well. You know that once these guys are on the scene, everything will be alright. And with Homelander, you know once he's on the scene, things are about to go downhill. And then Saitama's symbolic existence is that, does he even have it? Because he doesn't need. He's a hero no one knows. He doesn't do this for the credit. He doesn't even try to be relied on. He just stops what's in front of him, and that always happens by coincidence, that it's the world threatening danger. Killed Boros and no one ever knew Boros even existed. He stops a meteor. No one gives him credit for it. I mean, this guy, I think he's now an A-class hero at last. If he hasn't left the B-class yet, he doesn't do this for credits. He has a symbolic existence, of course, because we know that the god figure in One Punch Man is hunting him. He's about to go to war simply because he broke his limiter. Everything that's happening with the monsters getting more crazy is because of Saitama. But these are subtle symbolic existences. No one else knows about this in his story. Of course, we do as readers. So he is a symbol to us. And that also counts, of course. That also counts. That if we do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, live on a farm. Okay, I'm done with that. Looks like we are done with symbolic existences. Let's talk about the exploitable weaknesses. Up first, Superman. Obviously, kryptonite, but also his humanity. Ironically enough, his compassion, you can see it's always being used against him through underhanded tactics. You know, hostages. Obviously, he's too powerful for the hostage situation. Tying Lois Lane to a bomb, for example, and then going to the other side of town, like he will choose Lois Lane. That's obviously his exploitable weakness, his humanity, and kryptonite. Of course, kryptonite. But story-wise, the humanity matters more. Up next, we have All Might, and All Might's exploitable weakness is obviously his limited amount of time. That's basically his kryptonite when we get into the story. Before that, he was practically the perfect hero. He always fought on. I don't know how he did in hostage situations, but I think it would be the same as Superman. He would kill. That would be an exploitable weakness. But his limited time is enough of an exploitable weakness right now. This guy had to die to a no. What? Die? This guy basically gassed out on a no-more, and that was it. I mean, that was his last stand. I haven't seen much else with All Might, I guess. So let's move on. Now, exploitable weaknesses with Homelander. There are no obvious weaknesses. He doesn't have that kryptonite thing, no limited amount of time. His weakness is basically his mind. This guy is easily exploitable, easily manipulatable. He is so vulnerable emotionally. And also he drinks baby milk that's not grown on a farm. Thought I was done with that. So this manipulation is what's used to actually create stakes. Like, as much as he's on the scene and you know things are about to get messed up, you could still feel tension when he was with that. What was Gus Fring's name in The Boys? I don't know, but let's call him Gus. He was basically in a checkmate situation. He could have just beamed his laser out, but he was basically checkmated because of how easily manipulated he was. He cared too much about public opinion. I guess that's where the other weakness is. He cares a lot about public opinion. You can basically toss him around if it's for public opinion, like Starlight did, until he actually figured it out that if I lose everything, I'll have nothing to lose. And he turned things around. So I'd say he conquered that weakness. Even when he went crazy, the public was still on his side. But one thing that hasn't gone is basically how emotionally he is. Just look at his son, and I think you have him in a upside down situation. Now Gojo is actually a tougher nut to crack in terms of exploitable weakness. I guess his only weakness is he can't be in two places at once, which is everyone's weakness right now, I guess. But you could see even in the Shibuya incident, even when there was all those hostages, got to a point where he just accepted they are dead and he did what he had to do. There's no exploiting this guy unless you manipulate so much like they did in the Shibuya incident, unless you manipulate him not being able to be two places at once and needing to be in both places. If you calculate ahead of time that even when you have hostages, he'll still come after you, you have to literally seal him and lock him away. Obviously, I haven't read the manga enough, spoiler alert. Yeah, I got spoiled on the fact that he dies and I don't know how that happens. Moving on. Saitama, like Gojo, doesn't have any obvious exploitable weaknesses, except for that he can't be two places at once. But he's never in any real danger. I mean, his only danger is missing the sale. Just think about that. Can someone exploit him by telling him that there's a sale at this certain shop? Yeah, I just found Saitama's weakness. Point is, this guy cannot be exploited. He doesn't want anything you have. He just wants a fight, and you are not going to give it to him no matter how hard he tries. I guess Garo did try. What is Saitama's? Can you exploit Saitama, bruh? That guy is just immune to everything. The stakes only happen in the story when he's not there. You know? That's when the stakes happen. When he's not there. The stakes is basically, can Saitama get here in time to save Genos or something? Wow. So yeah, his weakness is that he can't be two places at once. And also, I guess, his lack of interest. As long as he doesn't see you doing something bad, he won't stop you. And he also won't look for you. However, if you're in front of him, he might even not even see that you're doing something bad, but he might still be able to stop you. What you should take from this as a writer is that if you want to use the strongest trope, give the character a symbolic existence. To do this, you must ask yourself what it means for them to be on the screen, what it means for them to be off the screen. Ask yourself what it means to characters around them, the people who are for them, the people who are against them. Whether it's a hero or a villain, ask yourself what it means to everyone around them when they're there and when they're not there. And the second thing you need is an exploitable weakness, because this is where you will pull your stakes from. This guy is the strongest. When he's on the screen, everything will go his way, right? But how do you get in the way of that? How do you prevent that? That's where you get the stakes from. Is it something mental, something physical? Is it some form of hindrance? And be creative about it, like with Saitama. You can't actually point out any exploitable weaknesses aside from him just not being there. So the story is built around keeping him away from the danger long enough for the reader to be itching and Saitama show up and punch this guy, you know, that kind of thing. In fact, the less obvious it is, I think the better, personally, because Saitama and Gojo are my favorite for that reason. And also, you need to think about this from a reader's perspective as well. So when you are reading a manga, when you are watching an anime, cartoon, story, whatever you are doing, when you see the strongest trope in use, ask yourself those two questions. What does their existence symbolize, and what is the exploitable weakness that the stakes are drawn from for this character? You can do it for Omni-Man, you can do it for Wolverine, you can do it for Hulk. Yeah, I see my choices. You can do it for Batman. That sums up our breaking down of the strongest trope and what it means to have one in your story. I hope this inspires you to be very creative in your usage of this trope. If you liked my analysis of this trope, you will love my analysis of the inner demon trope in this video. You can also support me on Patreon or by reading my manga.